Have you ever looked at your grown children, successful, independent, busy with their own lives, and wondered, do they still need me like they used to? Maybe you've offered help out of habit, stepped in when they struggled, or kept saying yes just to keep the peace. And deep down, maybe part of you felt a little worn down, a little invisible, even taken for granted. That feeling is more common than you think. As we grow older, especially after 70, our role in the family starts to shift. We're no longer the providers, protectors, or daily caretakers we once were. And yet, many of us keep giving just as much, sometimes even more, because it's what we've always done. But here's the gentle truth. There are certain things you should stop giving your children, not because you love them less, but because you want to love them better. And because you deserve peace, dignity, and freedom in this chapter of your life. Today, we're going to talk about those things, not to shame or scare anyone, but to help you reflect and to show you how letting go of certain habits can actually bring you closer to your children, not push them away. Think of this as a quiet guide to preserving your independence, your well-being, and your legacy of wisdom. Let's start with something that seems harmless, but can quietly sabotage both your happiness and theirs: your unconditional approval. It's natural to want your children to feel loved, accepted, and supported. That never changes, no matter how old they get. But when that love turns into automatic approval, when every decision they make gets a nod, even if it bothers you deep down, you may be teaching them that your opinion doesn't matter. Worse, you may be robbing them of the chance to grow through honest reflection. You see, approval is powerful. When it's earned through respect, responsibility, and integrity, it builds character. But when it's given freely, without pause or feedback, it can become meaningless. Your children might begin to think that no matter what they do, you'll always say yes. And that's not love, that's enabling. Wisdom teaches us that love must be balanced with clarity. Real love isn't afraid to say, "I see your choice, but I don't agree." It isn't afraid to ask questions, to draw boundaries, or to hold someone accountable with kindness. So the next time your child comes to you with a big decision, pause. Instead of rushing to support them just to avoid conflict, ask yourself, is this something I truly believe in? And if not, how can I express that lovingly, without judgment? Now, speaking of boundaries, let's talk about something even more tangible: your home. Your home isn't just four walls and a roof. It's your sanctuary. It holds your memories, your peace, your daily rhythm. And after 70, it becomes more than a place. It becomes part of your identity. That's why giving it away too soon, even to the people you love most, can come with hidden consequences. Maybe your children are going through a tough time. Maybe you think they could use the stability, or they deserve it. I won't be around forever anyway. But here's the hard truth. Life is unpredictable. Relationships change. Financial pressures mount. And once your name is no longer on that deed, your ability to choose, to stay, to leave, to feel secure goes with it. I've seen far too many parents hand over their homes with the best intentions, only to find themselves displaced, dependent, or even emotionally neglected years later. Not because their children are bad people, but because the dynamic shifted in ways they never anticipated. Instead of gifting your home outright, consider other ways to support your children if needed, ways that don't compromise your independence. Rent it if necessary. Downsize only if you are ready. Hold on to the keys to your peace, because once they're gone, they're hard to get back. And that brings me to something many of us don't even realize we're giving away: the quick fix. As parents, we're wired to protect. When our kids face a challenge, even as adults, our instinct is to jump in and solve it. Whether it's offering money, advice, a place to stay, or simply taking care of it, we rush in like superheroes without thinking twice. But here's what I've learned: rescuing isn't always helping. Every problem we solve for them is a lesson they don't get to learn. Every time we rush to fix, we send an unspoken message: you can't handle this without me. That message, even when meant with love, can stunt their growth and steal their confidence. Thoughtful wisdom encourages us to let others walk their own path, even when it's painful to watch. That doesn't mean turning your back. It means stepping back enough to let them find their own footing. It means saying, "I trust you to figure this out," instead of, "Let me take care of that for you." This kind of love takes courage. It takes patience. But it leads to something beautiful. Children who respect you and themselves. And parents who don't feel drained, used, or unappreciated. You deserve that peace. And here's something else worth thinking about. Something that often goes unnoticed. Your sense of self. After decades of parenting, it's easy to forget who you were before you were mom or dad. Your identity becomes so wrapped up in your children that when they grow up and move on, you're left wondering, now what? But the truth is, you were someone before you were a parent, and that person still matters. This stage of life, your 70s and beyond, isn't about fading into the background. It's about returning to yourself, reconnecting with the things that make you feel alive, your passions, your beliefs, your voice. When your entire identity revolves around your children, their success or struggles become your emotional weather. And that's too heavy a burden for both of you. Show your children what it looks like to live fully, with purpose and independence. Not so they'll admire you, but so they'll learn to do the same. Because the greatest gift you can give them now is the example of a life still deeply lived. Now, as we continue this journey, I want you to take a breath. Reflect on what we've shared so far. This isn't about taking anything away. It's about creating space. For you to be free, for your children to grow, and for your love to evolve into something deeper, more respectful, and more enduring. Let's keep going. We've talked about how holding on to your sense of self, your approval, your home, and your urge to rescue can actually bring more strength to your relationships. And now I want to gently bring your attention to something that often goes unnoticed, but plays a massive role in your well-being: your finances. Money isn't just about numbers on a page or the size of your retirement account. At this stage in life, money is security. It's freedom. It's your ability to make choices, say yes when you want to, and, just as importantly, say no when you need to. And yet, many older parents feel pressured to hand over control of their finances to their children, either out of trust, guilt, or a sense of obligation. Now, let me be clear. It's wise to involve your children in your financial planning if you trust them and feel it's necessary. But involve doesn't mean surrender. There's a big difference between being transparent and giving up control. Too often, a parent says, "I'm not good with this stuff. Let my son handle it." Or, "My daughter's always been responsible. I'll just give her power of attorney." But once you no longer have access or oversight, things can quickly spiral, sometimes through poor choices, sometimes through well-meaning but misguided ones, and in some heartbreaking cases, through misuse or even financial abuse. Wise living reminds us to move through life with awareness, with mindfulness. Your money is an extension of your choices. When you give that power away, you're handing over more than dollars. You're handing over direction. You deserve to remain at the center of your life's decisions, including how your savings are used, how your bills are paid, and how your legacy is managed. If the financial side of life feels overwhelming, you don't have to go it alone. Seek a financial advisor who works with seniors. Talk to a lawyer about setting up clear but protective boundaries. But please, stay involved. Stay in the loop. And never feel like you have to give away your financial freedom in order to buy peace. Now let's talk about something a little more invisible but just as valuable: your emotional energy. You may have noticed that things affect you more deeply than they used to. A small argument can stay with you for days. A hurtful comment, even if unintended, can linger like a cloud. That's normal. As we age, we don't lose strength. We simply become more sensitive to what drains us. And that includes the emotional roller coasters of the people we love most. If your children are going through stress, job troubles, relationship drama, parenting issues, it's only natural to want to listen, support, and be present. But if you find yourself constantly absorbing their tension, worrying about their lives more than your own, or lying awake at night replaying their problems in your head, then you've quietly crossed a line. You've started giving away your emotional energy. And here's why that matters. You only have so much to give. And after 70, protecting your mental and emotional health isn't selfish. It's essential. You've carried a family, a career, a life. You've held everyone else through storms. Now it's time to hold yourself with the same tenderness. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying. You stop letting other people's choices, pain, or urgency weigh you down. You start asking, "Is this mine to hold?" before diving in. You create space, healthy space, between your love for your children and their emotional chaos. Imagine what your days would look like if you weren't constantly bracing for the next call, the next crisis, the next favor. Imagine having more time to breathe, to laugh, to walk in the sun without the weight of everyone else's world on your shoulders. That space is not abandonment, it's boundaries. And when you model that kind of emotional clarity, your children may start to realize they can navigate more of their lives on their own. They might even start to protect your peace instead of assuming you'll sacrifice it for them. Which brings me to something very close to the heart, your past. You've lived a life filled with moments, joys, regrets, lessons, and yes, wounds. You've had dreams fulfilled and some left behind. You've known loss, disappointment, and transformation. All of it is part of your story. But here's something to remember. That story is yours. And while it can inspire others, it should never become their burden. Sometimes, without meaning to, we project our past onto our children. We want them to succeed where we failed. We fear they'll repeat our mistakes. We try to shape their choices based on the pain we've carried. But when we do that, we're not freeing them. We're limiting them. We're asking them to live our life, not theirs. And we rob ourselves of the present moment. Your wisdom matters. But it matters most when it's offered as light, not weight. Let your lessons rise like lanterns, gently illuminating, not smothering, their path. Let your children struggle, falter, and get back up the way you once did. That's how resilience is built. That's how pride is born. And if you feel that you haven't healed parts of your past yet, let this stage of life be your chance to do just that, not through control, but through release. You're not defined by what happened then. You are defined by how you live now. We've covered a lot already. And I hope as you hear these words, you're not feeling discouraged. Quite the opposite. I hope you're beginning to feel lighter, more empowered. Because the truth is, you're not losing your place in the family, you're reclaiming it. Not as the one who fixes everything. Not as the silent giver who slowly disappears. But as the wise, strong, vibrant soul who knows how to love deeply without giving too much of themselves away. And that kind of love? That's the kind your children need more than anything. The kind that teaches by example. The kind that says, I am still whole. I am still growing. I am still here. Let's keep moving forward, one step at a time. By now, you've probably started to see a pattern. This isn't about holding back love. It's about offering your love from a place of strength, not sacrifice. A love that uplifts rather than enables. That respects not only your children's journey, but yours as well. And that brings us to something many parents give away far too soon, sometimes without realizing how much of themselves they're losing in the process. It's subtle. It creeps in slowly. One decision here, another there, and before you know it, you've stopped steering your own life. I'm talking about control. Not the type of control that dictates others, but the kind that keeps you rooted in your own agency. Your ability to decide where you go, what you do, who you spend time with, how your days unfold. That quiet, personal autonomy that gives your life shape and dignity. As you grow older, it may seem easier to let others take over. Your children start handling your appointments. They tell you what's best for your health, your time, even your living arrangements. And while some of that comes from care, it can slowly turn into something that leaves you feeling small, voiceless, like a passenger in your own story. Here's the truth. Giving up control too early doesn't just affect you, it affects your children too. It can breed dependence where there should be trust. It creates a dynamic where they're constantly guessing what you want or assuming they know what's right for you. And more often than not, that leads to tension, not harmony. True wisdom teaches that dignity lies in mindful living, that we honor life not by avoiding hardship, but by showing up for it with presence. So don't be afraid to say no when something doesn't feel right. Don't hesitate to speak up, even if your children mean well. You've earned the right to shape your own days. If you'd rather not move in with family, that's valid. If you want to keep gardening, walking, or cooking for yourself, that matters. If you'd prefer quiet afternoons over a calendar packed with social obligations, you're allowed to say so. Holding on to your voice doesn't make you stubborn. It makes you alive. You've spent decades pouring into others, raising families, keeping things afloat. Maybe you were the one who always sacrificed, who said yes so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable, who stayed silent to keep the peace. But now is the time to center yourself again. Retirement isn't the end of usefulness. It's the beginning of freedom, of rediscovery, of finally asking, what do I want? What brings me peace? Maybe it's painting again, even if no one sees your work. Maybe it's traveling solo, taking long walks without checking your phone. Maybe it's joining a book club, learning Tai Chi, writing your memories down in a journal. Whatever it is, do it because you matter. Because you are more than someone's parent, grandparent, or caregiver. You are still growing, still learning, still becoming. And when your children see you living like that, boldly, quietly, authentically, it teaches them something powerful. That aging doesn't mean fading. That letting go of old roles doesn't mean letting go of joy. It shows them what self-respect looks like. And maybe, just maybe, it inspires them to live with more intention too. Let's be honest, it's not always easy to shift these patterns. Maybe you've always been the fixer, the helper. Maybe you still hear that inner voice saying, if I don't help, who will? Or, if I stop giving, they'll drift away. But here's what I want you to know. Setting boundaries doesn't end love. It purifies it. It creates a new kind of relationship. One built not on dependency, but on respect. A relationship where your children come to you not just to get, but to share, to connect, to enjoy. Not because they need to, but because they want to. And that's what you deserve. You deserve visits filled with warmth, not pressure. Conversations that feel uplifting, not draining. You deserve to rest without guilt, to laugh without pretense, to spend your energy on things that bring you alive, not just things that wear you out. So today, I invite you to look gently at your life. What are you still giving out of habit, not intention? What can you reclaim, not to pull away from your children, but to return to yourself? Because here's the beautiful truth. When you honor your own needs, when you take care of your energy, your space, your choices, you don't become less available to your family. You become more whole. And from that place of wholeness, your love becomes more powerful, more nourishing, and more sustainable. Letting go of overgiving doesn't mean turning your back. It means turning your face toward the sun. You are allowed to live the rest of your life on your own terms. And you don't need anyone's permission to do that, not even your children's. So if you've made it this far with me, thank you. Thank you for having the courage to reflect, to pause, to reconsider what it means to love, to age, to lead by example. It takes strength to change course, but you're not alone. So many of us are walking this path together, step by step. And if something I said today stirred something in you, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment. Share a story. Tell us what you've learned about setting boundaries or taking back your space. There's wisdom in your voice, and it deserves to be heard. And if this message resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that nurtures your spirit and empowers your choices. You are not just aging. You are evolving. And you are worthy of joy, dignity, and deep, lasting peace. Here's to living your best life at any age. We'll see you in the next video.